watching Let's Chat.
A number of times in the past, our next guest has joined us. Primarily, we've been putting together food to put on cooking boards to cut up and eat. Kind of taking the reverse approach to that this morning. Big Jim Stansel is here from BareKnuckles BBQ. Jim, good to see you as always.
Nice to see you.
Man, you told me about this new line that you were getting into where you were handcrafting these fine charcuterie boards and fine cutting boards. And I wanted to get you to explain to me where you got this piece of wood.
This is a piece of black walnut. It was in a burn pile.
A burn pile?
A burn pile. The sawmill guys, when they get to where they're not a standard piece or not, excuse me, not just square,
right,
they put them in a pile because most people don't want to do the work it takes to get them in this shape.
And wood just like this turned into
this,
a piece just like this. Wow, this thing is absolutely beautiful. A little bit of a color differential.
This is a resin. This is an epoxy resin that you pour to stabilize the wood and to also give it a little attractive color.
Sure. And you also use the same kind of wood for the piece down there.
This one here, and this one has a little blackish gray epoxy. Hard to see, but it's translucent for most part.
Right.
And so you'll use this to stabilize, but you'll also use to accent the colors of the wood.
Wouldn't it be a lot easier to go buy wood to make all this stuff with?
No.
Would it not?
No, because there's a lot of that dimensional lumber doesn't have a whole lot of character.
Right.
A lot of these things, and we'll get into these, where trees were standing dead or they were pieces of wood taken off an old building from the 1800s.
Yeah.
And so I think it's my job to repurpose it into, because it all has its value depending on what you do to it. If you just want to build a fire, go ahead. But that's not really what you should do.
This is far, far too beautiful to even imagine being in a burn pile, even its raw form.
You know, you can cut on this too.
Oh yeah, you can cut and serve on this.
You can cut and serve on this. Most people will use it as a charcuterie tray. We'll put some fancy handmade. I've got a couple of blacksmiths and people that help me make my handles.
Right.
So I use repurposed old railroad spikes or pieces of metal, and they'll make me some crazy looking handles, and I'll powder coat them, and
so everything gets a second life.
Everything gets a second chance, yeah.
Wow. All right, now tell me about these two pieces here. These are smaller cutting boards, but these are also branded with the Big Meat Monday.
It's an inside joke with me and some football players. So,
I know it is, but tell us about the cutting boards themselves.
So this is a hickory. This is from a standing dead hickory tree. So a lot of times I'll go to the sawmill. These trees will come from lots that they're clearing. So typically what happens is these trees get put in dumpsters and they go to the landfill and they either burn them or shred them and make chips.
Right.
So the sawmill guy I will buy a whole tree. Just make as many cutting boards and get as much as I can get out of them. This is a piece of sapele, which is a mahogany, a North American mahogany type wood. It's very dense, very heavy. It ruins my blades quite often.
And then you have these sets of coasters, each of these made from the same kind of thing, reclaimed wood.
Scrap
resin,
pieces from making these. So I use the pieces that are just cast-offs or anything like that to make coasters.
Wow.
Because you don't really want to throw anything away, and the value is the grain and the...
Sure.
This is a walnut, this is a cypress.
We have some video of you working on these in your shop down just outside of Atlanta. Like, for example, this first board we talked about. How many hours did it take you to turn this from the raw wood into the finished product we see now?
Well, it's probably a week. So 3 or 4 days in the resin, and it has to get completely hard. I'll then square it all up and then start to sand it.
Wow.
And there's at least a good hour plus. And when I say an hour, it's a full hour. So you go from 80 grit all the way to 600 grit so you can have it smooth and polished. So there's a good hour just in this.
It's amazing.
And so when I tell somebody how much is there, oh my God, yeah, but.
And this is kind of connected with your still increasingly popular BareKnuckles BBQ.
Right.
Because now you pull the meat off the grill, you got a place to
I got a place to throw it, and usually I would tear up the cutting boards, and now I can tear them up and fix them.
Yeah.
So
and give everything a second chance, which I think is really cool and unique. And most
this
places
is actually sorry, but this was a cutoff from a cabinet shop. So they fill their dumpsters full of these pieces about this big.
Right.
And they go to the landfill. And so They will let you go through, and most places will let you go through and just dig it all out, and they'll take it.
How do we get in touch with you to find out more information about BareKnuckles BBQ and about how to get a nice set or an individual charcuterie or a cutting board?
You can go to my Facebook page, which is Jim Stansel. You can go to BareKnucklesBBQ.com, or you can go to Barbecue Big Jim on Instagram and just message me. If you see something you like, tell me. If you don't see something you like and you want something custom, you can come by the house and we'll pick you out some wood. I have a lot of pieces of wood.
Jim, good to see you as
Thank you,
always.
Chip.
Stick around. We have much more straight ahead on Let's Chat.